This week on Culture Q, LGBTQ celebs celebrate new beginnings.
We chat up Zolita at LA Pride.
And Disney said gay rights. What is going on? It is Andy Lawani here.
And I'm Cheryl Lazar. This is Culture Q.
And here are some of the highlights from this week in queer culture.
Pride Month has ended, but it was just the beginning for many LGBTQ celebs. Let's take a look at whose Pride seasons are in full bloom. Funny Girl star Beanie Feldstein announced on her Instagram that she's engaged. Beanie posted a photo with the simple caption, "I do bon," announcing her engagement to girlfriend Bonnie Chance Roberts. The happy couple were surrounded by friends and family, including Beanie's brother Jonah Hill and bestie Ben Platt. The two met in true Hollywood fashion on the set of How to Build a Girl, which Roberts produced. Adorable, and for many celebs, this June was their first Pride after publicly coming out, like actress Anjanou Ellis, who is celebrating at 53. The King Richard star was spotted in style wearing a Dolce & Gabbana suit jacket with the word queer inscribed on the left arm. She told Variety, "I really believe that is important to say because I'm not alone. We see people on the other side of it, where everybody's good and fine. Love is love." And a reality fave also came out unapologetically. Leon Brown of TLC's Sister Wives, who had a gendered and restrictive upbringing to say the least, recently shared in an Instagram post, "I'm finally ready to share my favorite self with the world. And that self is incredibly genderqueer, trans, and unapologetic." Well, we are here for all of that, and there's more. Actor Luke Baines, swimmer Dan Jervis, and pop star Kesha also came out. And while it may have been premature, we're really proud of Rebel Wilson for taking the reins and beating the tabloids at their own game.
In another round of Disney gays versus Disney homophobia, the new animated series Baymax is suddenly making some bold statements about inclusion and tolerance. Baymax is an inflatable healthcare robot last seen in the Disney film Big Hero 6. He was designed to help people live full and healthy lives. But according to conservatives, Baymax is also the biggest threat to our children. Conservative pundit Chris went off on Twitter saying they saw the clip of Baymax, which promotes the transgender flag and the idea that men can have periods to children as young as 2 years old. Now, for context, the episode is about a young girl who gets her first period and Baymax helps her getting her menstrual products. In reality, the scene with the trans masculine character shows that a variety of people are also affected by menstruation.
These are the tampons I usually use.
Thank you.
I prefer pads. They're more comfortable for me.
Thank you.
I always get the ones with wings.
Thank you.
Get unscented and bleach-free if you can.
Thank you.
Yo, my daughter loves these.
Thank you.
Many took to Twitter to respond, pointing out that Baymax is a healthcare robot and menstruation care is healthcare. In the end, one of our favorite responses came from a Twitter user saying, "Imagine thinking a completely neutral representation of a trans man is some grand agenda. Just sounds like equality to me."
Trans rights and LGBTQ representation dominated the world's news headlines this week. And first up, LGBTQ leaders won primaries in 3 states. Illinois' Eric Sorensen won the Democratic primary, putting him on the track to be the first openly LGBTQ lawmaker elected to Congress ever from his state. Meanwhile, Colorado's Governor Jared Polis will go up to defend his seat against the Republican nominee. And Oklahoma State Representative Maury Turner is the first non-binary person elected to any state legislator and will go up against Jed Green, an independent. Such great news at the local level, as representation does matter, but more still needs to be done to protect the rights of the community from GOP attacks. And that is why 5 Dem House representatives have introduced a transgender Bill of Rights that will protect trans and non-binary people. The bill would ban discrimination against gender identity and expression in public accommodations, employment, housing, and credit. The bill would also ensure access to gender-affirming medical care, including abortion and contraception, and would ban forced surgery on intersex children and infants. The bill has 83 co-sponsors and also bans conversion therapy, as well as invests in anti-violence against trans and non-binary initiatives. More than 300 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced between January and May of this year targeting trans youth. And one of the bill's co-creators, Pramila Jayapal, shared this. "Our Trans Bill of Rights says clearly to the trans community that we see you and we will stand with you to ensure you are protected." In Spain, a bill has moved forward that will allow Spanish teens to determine their own gender. Now, if someone wants to change their gender designation, they have to get a diagnosis of gender dysphoria before receiving hormonal treatment for 2 years. The new law would grant permissions based on age tiers too. Up to 12, you can change your name. 12 to 14, you would need parental permission to change your gender, and anyone 16 and older will be able to make changes freely. The bill also extends the same protections to non-Spaniards living in Spain and bans conversion therapy. Spain's Equality Minister Irene Montero shared her excitement, saying this: "This is an historic day. We want to send a very clear message that the lives of LGBTQ persons matter. Today, we again place ourselves in the vanguard of LGBTQ rights." Well, that is for sure. And the bill has one more step before the parliament vote, and we're excited to see it pass. We're also excited for some much-needed progress in Poland. In Warsaw, a high court ruled that LGBT-free zones must be abolished in 4 cities. For context, LGBT-free zones were established to stop the promotion of homosexuality. They allowed businesses to deny service to queer people and refused anything that could be seen as pro-LGBTQ propaganda. Many of these zones were also around schools. Poland's campaign against homophobia shared on social media, "Today's decision is a great victory for democracy, human rights, and respect for people." And luckily, there's been a lot of resistance since the day these were implemented. The EU threatened to withhold funding from these zones, causing lawmakers to reconsider. It's the first step in a long journey to ensuring LGBTQ rights for all.
Every year, LA Pride highlights the best in LGBTQ culture. We were downtown and got to chat with the organizer of LA Pride and musical artist Zolita about what really went into this year's celebration.
All right, we are back with the one, the only, the fabulous Jonathan London, one of the board of directors for Los Angeles Pride and one of the organizers of today's event. What was it like this year, being gone for 2 years, with the pandemic and everything, organizing a Pride this size and bringing it out of West Hollywood into downtown?
A lot of our community kept on saying to us, we want to try other things in other different parts of the city. And we had to listen, and we had to listen and act and respond. So on Sunday, obviously that will be our very first Pride that's in Hollywood. I've seen some of the renderings of some of the floats, and everyone was blown away. I mean, there's some very special, huge activations and floats going to be happening.
Plus, Summer Tramp with Felix the House Cat,
Isn't that amazing?
Super epic.
So
and
here's
very OG.
Here's what's amazing, is that we decided that we wanted to work with all the prides around LA.
Right.
We're working really well with Detail LA Proud.
Correct.
We're almost like hand in hand with them. Oliver from Detail Proud is like such a special guy, and he's welcomed us into the downtown LA community. We're now sort of part of that community, and so now kind of understanding that there's this big community on the east as well.
Huge.
That they respond really well to the parade. So I think for us, it's felt much more organically inclusive than I think we have possibly ever had. And for us, that's really special.
Like Los Angeles proper hasn't had a party this big in a space this big before. What are you anticipating in terms of like the folks who are going to be here in the park today?
Yeah, well, I think at the beginning, none of us really knew, sort of because it was so new and it was almost an experiment, we didn't know if people were going to come, we didn't know if they were going to book tickets. For us now, just looking at our Instagram and the messages we get, there's people from every county, people from all around California, people from London. These 2 guys from Sydney wrote to me and said that we can't wait to come. And so this is like almost like an international Pride, but for the city of LA. And I'm just kind of amazed that we've come to this and it's here.
What was it like being at this type of Pride, and why is it so important to you to be supporting Pride?
It was incredible, first of all, because LA Pride was my first Pride that I ever went to, and we talked about this a little bit on stage.
Wow.
But yeah, it was like I was in high school and I was still closeted, and I went as an ally, which I feel like is a very classic thing for a queer person who's in the closet. And I just remember looking at the community around me and being like, this is the community that I'm going to get to be a part of, and it made coming out feel so much less intimidating. So to get to come back here and perform at LA Pride is just really, really special. And also, LA is my hometown, so all my family and friends are here, and
More great people around you.
Yeah.
So there are millions of crickets are watching this across the globe. I've been asking every artist this. If you could give a message of inspiration and hope.
Being queer is such a privilege, and just like look at the community of people that you're about to get to be a part of. And find your community online if you can't find them in person yet, if you're in a place where you can't, and you just know that you have a lot to look forward to, and you have a lot of love around you, and people ready to hold you for those.
Every week we have some great titles to show off here on Revry, and here are some from this week's streaming guide that you should check out. In Finding Mr. Right, Clark Townsend is an ambitious, serious-minded talent manager who's forced to finally get some me time when he accompanies his best friend and wayward client, Eddie, to a wilderness therapy retreat. There he meets Pierce Wright, Eddie's life coach and counselor. Sparks fly, and Clark is taken on the retreat of his life.
My life revolves around putting famous people in movies and attending fancy premieres. Right now, I don't have time for a relationship.
Next up, Before Homosexuals is an immersive documentary that takes viewers on a tour of same-sex love across history. You won't want to miss this one.
What is it about the penis? Even the Greeks had a demigod named Priapus.
Before Homosexuals is a prelude to the award-winning films Before Stonewall and After Stonewall, and together will form a trilogy. The trilogy's goal is to improve understanding and respect while decreasing intolerance, discrimination, and violence towards gays and lesbians worldwide. It does this by showcasing that the community has always existed in every culture over time and has made some of the most beautiful and powerful contributions to history and art. For these titles and so much more, you can stream them right here, right now on Revry.
With Roe v. Wade being overturned and Justice Thomas's horrible statements about LGBTQ protections, it seems like it just doesn't stop raining. But thankfully, we've got a little silver lining for you this week. On Thursday, June 30th, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was officially sworn in as the 116th Supreme Court Justice. This makes her the first Black woman to serve on the Supreme Court.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much. Now, on behalf of all of the members of the court, I am pleased to welcome Justice Jackson to the court and to our common calling.
Brown Jackson, whose rights as a Black woman were non-existent in the Constitution until 1920, had been grilled by the GOP during her confirmation hearing, and is a living example that the US Constitution is capable of evolution and growth. Social media joined in on the celebration and Justice Brown Jackson's historic win. Kerry Washington spoke for everyone, saying, "The news we needed this week. Grateful for you, Ketanji Brown Jackson." Twitter user Adina Khan said, "We are all Justice Jackson's daughter right now," while showing a photo of Leela Jackson looking at her mother proudly. And bringing it home was DNC Chair Jamie Harrison, saying, "They called for her everything but a child of God in those hearings, and now they must call her Madam Justice."
And thank you again, Justice Brown Jackson, for being a ray of hope. And that is all for this week on Culture Q. I'm Cheryl Lazar.
And it's Anuwani signing out.
Yep, thank you again for hanging out with us this week.
And be sure to join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live and always on demand, right here on Revry.